been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I been all in them trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. I been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I been all in them trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. My chain dance on my head big. My top heavy, I let it down. See me shining, they hating on me. They mean mugging, I let them down. She call me Poppy, I'm popping now. Hoes happy, I'm hopping now. Money talks, I'm the only thing these broke boys should be talking about. They talking greasy, we eating healthy, we getting wealthy. You see the difference. Blew her back, then I blew her off. She salty, now she can't be the missus. My partner's country like cornbread. In the city plotting on long bread. These niggas out here going broke, trying to do the shit that they song said. I'm a once in a lifetime flex. Never leave lifeline sex. Hit her with the nighttime text. Got no time to fight, why stress? I be dripping, baby. Fucks that I used to get missing lately. They acting iffy, he different, ain't he? Hop in the coupe and we dipping, baby. Yeah, the inside be looking like chicken gravy. In my vision hazy, know they hungry and hideous. Ride for my brother like Phineas. Finna go fill up a stash. I'm on a mission, my paunch be itching, man. I can't even hold you, it feel like a rash. I came with the funk like a hamper of Pampers, and all of these rappers been stealing the sauce. I just been winning, man. I'm tryna get it, man. It's to the point I ain't feeling no loss. I been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I been all in the trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. I been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your fitness. I been all in them trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. Ocean under this dad hat. It ain't me that you mad at. I ain't tripping, bruh, had that. Cause he don't know I done had that. My bucket list got check marks. My denim pocket got stretch marks. My neighbors swear that I'm hustling. Like, might as well, bruh, fuck it then. I might whip around the city like a Uber. Got her watching me and my maneuvers. Why you capping, bruh, you not a shooter. She gon' give me brain, think I got a tutor. I been too clean for the dirty looks. Pile of paper thick as 30 books. Shawty fine as hell at 27. I can't wait to see how 30 looks. I been out of pocket like loose change. Ride around like Bruce Wayne. Still hot as that blue flame. I might buy the block with my boot thing. Yeah, them squares in your circle, you out of shape. My city think that I got a cape. All of this smoking can't get me a job, but that's just a risk that I gotta take. I'm a rock star, baby. Feel like I'm Chuck Berry in my Sway Sperry. I'm a pop star, baby. Feel like I'm Steve Perry hitting Holly Berries, and it's kinda scary all the power you got when you really be knowing yourself. Know that they cannot control me or hold me, cause lately I barely got hold of myself. Shit, I been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I been all in them trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. I been all in my bag. You been all in my business. You be all in your feelings. I been all in them trenches. I been all in my bag. You be all in my business. No, they notice me flexing. Fit in all in my fitness. Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Down the bottle, it be going right through me. Brown baby down to take a flight to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's light to me. Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Guess that's why the labels want the rights to me. City on my back and it feel light to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's light to me. I don't understand it, how they got so timid. Told them I would do it and I overdid it. I don't do the bass cause I don't got the minis. Pull up nothing teeny so they know who winning. Shorty cutting up, it must be retrograde. 80s Cuban collar with the retro fade. Baby cut from Mexico, the whip journey. And she down the wet it while the spliff burning. They don't want no static, better get the signal. Earning all these coins, it ain't coincidental. Tell them free the doggies, keep them out the kennel. With my same roadies, whipping different rentals. Baby girl, what's your sign and what that steez do? Say got a little bit of cash, but can he please you? Started in my DM, I might make her be
out of my comfort zone without
babies,
my
they be
headphones.
stunning,
So
you should come and see
we'll
it.
see how this goes.
Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Down the bottle, it be going right through me. Brown baby gonna take a flight to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's slight to me. Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Guess that's why the labels want the rights to me. CD on my back and it feel light to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's slight to me. I done cracked the code, yeah, I'm a hacker now. Gotta let them see it, I would back around. I don't need your wifey, she a pass around. They don't need to know it when I'm back in town. Bank teller greet me by my first name. Niggas sending shots but got the worst thing. Seen him out here looking like he hate cash. Treat that little pussy like a face.
Hit that like button on the way in.
They don't want no problems, they don't want equations. We keep that same energy on all occasions. More life to my
that same
enemies
energy on all occasions.
But I do not compromise with competition. All my shit be sounding like it look like. These niggas be rapping for them book likes. Alkaline charged like a battery. How they got the minutes to be mad at me. Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Down the bottle, it be going right through me. Brown baby gonna take a flight to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's slight to me. Pollen paper got them talking nice to me. Guess that's why the labels want the rights to me.
Turn that
CD on my back and it feel light to me. They think that I'm stunting, but it's slight to me.
Okay. Here we go. We getting ready to start the show right now. We start the show right now. Yeah. It's the Hood Trucker Show. And we're going to talk about the NFL tonight. I'm the Hood Trucker. And we're going to look at that that complaint they got. Again, it's the Hood Trucker Show, and I'm the Hood Trucker. I ain't got no headphones on today, so we're kind of out of the comfort zone. You know, I got the brand new Toyota hat on because you know they bless me. They bless me. They bless your boy. A little something earlier a couple weeks ago. Let's see. NFL the No Fun League. It's fun for somebody. It's fun for somebody. Watch this. Let's see. I can't share two things at once. Let's kill the music and let's get right into it. We're going to look at that complaint. We're going to look at the racism going on. There's plenty of racism going on in the NFL. Why they can't get it right, though? Why they don't want to get it right? Can they get it right or they don't want to get it right? We're going to look at it. We're going to look at it. So let's look into it right one time. Let's look into it one time. Okay. So let's go over here. Let's see. How do I turn? Okay. That's right. I need to turn this off. Turn him off. There you go. Okay. Now let's go over here and share this. I put the link to the complaint in the description. Let's see. Let's get it. That's not it. Here it is, right here. So, okay, let's look at it. Okay, so as you can see, this is the complaint. Now, how do we get it big? Let's see, can we go bigger? Okay. Bigger? Bigger? Okay, that's too big. Okay, let's go down. Okay, let's go a little bit smaller than that. Okay, so here's the here's the full complaint, right? This is a full complaint, and let me know if that's big enough. I don't know how to get this stuff off the side. I'm not a PC guy. I'm a Mac guy. Let me see what this is. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we got it now. Now we might go a little bigger then. Okay, let's go a little bigger. Okay, that's good right there. Let's look how this is here. Okay, this looks good right there. Okay, let's see. Absolutely, Brian Flores is most definitely the next Colin Kaepernick because he'll never get another job, and the reason why that is because they control the whole thing. So this is a complaint. Let's get this set up. Okay, this is a complaint. Brian Flores, and I did a podcast earlier. I called him Lopez. My bad. Brian Flores, as a class representative on behalf of himself and all others similarly situated. So they're trying to get it certified as a criminal complaint. Here, let me take Joe's comment off of there so we can all see what's going on. So, and it's against the National Football League, New York Football Giants, Miami Dolphins, Denver Broncos, and John Doe teams, 1 through 29. I don't know what that John Doe teams mean. Maybe the rest of the teams in the NFL. Who knows? We're going to go through a couple of little portions of this so we can get an idea of what's going on and why this is important. And, hopefully this does something because, on the first day of Black History Month, you know what I'm saying? This is significant. So they start out the complaint like this is the first thing, and I don't know if y'all pull it up yet or not, but this is when it names who the plaintiff and the defendants are, and the first thing it talks about is, sorry, I fucked this up. I double checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that, BB. Now, BB is Bill Belichick. And that's crazy how they start the whole thing off with that, because that's probably one of the most important pieces of evidence that shows that before Brian Flores was going to go interview, because this text was sent before he went to go do the interview. And this is important, and it starts off the complaint because it's so important, because it verifies that Brian Flores was just going on that interview with the Giants to fulfill the Rooney Rule. And if those of you don't know what the Rooney Rule is, the Rooney Rule is a rule that's in place that's supposed to even the playing field, because I think it was from 1920 or something like that to 1989 when the owner of the Raiders, what is his name? I don't know why I forgot. Damn, I forgot his name. Anyway, he was the first one to hire Art Shell from 1920 to 1989. The first one to hire a black head coach. That's crazy. And that's why the Rooney Rule is in existence anyway. Because it's not an even playing field. I mean, from 1920 to 89, 70, was that almost 80 years or something, 70 something years, 69 years, something like that. Al Davis is the name. Al Davis, the owner of the Raiders. He hired Art Shell in 1989. So after that, I don't know if there was discussions before that or not. I'm not even really sure when the Rooney Rule was implemented, but at the time of implementation of the Rooney Rule, there was three black head coaches. Now there's only one. And I heard some commentators talking about ain't no racism in the NFL. I don't know how that's so, but it's significant. So he said, "Sorry, fuck this up. I double checked, misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that, Bill Belichick." Bill Belichick says Bill Belichick informing plaintiff Brian Flores 3 days before his interview with the New York Giants that Brian Daboll had already been selected for the job. Why is that significant? Because if he has already been selected for the job, the only reason why Brian Flores was going on the interview to fulfill the Rooney Rule. That's the only reason. And that's why he's suing. Because why have a rule in place if it doesn't do anything? Doesn't do nothing. See, morals cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. The law cannot make an employer love me, but it can keep him from refusing to hire me because of the color of my skin. And as we see, that's not even true. And that's a statement by Martin Luther King. And it even says, as this class action complaint is filed on the first day of Black History Month, we honor the brave leaders that fought so hard to help break down racial barriers of injustice. Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Jackie Robinson, Mamie Till, to only name a few. Unfortunately, however, there is so much more to be done. While racial barriers have been eroded in many areas, defendant the National Football League or the league lives in times of the past, as described through this class action complaint. The NFL remains rife with racism, particularly when it comes to the hiring and retention of black head coaches, coordinators, general managers. Over the years, the NFL and its 32-member organization have been given every chance to do the right thing. Rules have been implemented, promises made, but nothing has changed. In fact, the racial discrimination is only made worse by the NFL's disingenuous commitment to social equity. You know what they're talking about right there. And Joe, I'm not drunk. Shut your ass up. Oh shit! What the hell did I do? See, over it got me screwing up over here. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Where we? Okay. And what they're talking about is, or what he's talking about, I think partially because of what the Dog and Pony Show that they were doing with bringing Jay-Z in. What had Jay-Z done? Besides say that we're past kneeling. If we're past kneeling, then what's going on with the coaches and the general managers and all that. If we're past kneeling, there's still some shit going on. So as such, in the face of these risks associated with combating racism and injustice, and in particular standing up to organizations as powerful as the NFL and its teams, Mr. Flores has determined that the only way to effectuate real change is through the courts, where the NFL's conduct can be judged by a jury of Mr. Flores' peers, a judgment that is long overdue. I 100% agree. Because Jay-Z ain't going to do it. We saw that already. Jay-Z ain't finna do nothing. In certain critical ways, the NFL is racially segregated and is managed much like a plantation. I talked about that on my podcast earlier, where they measure. I'm not even. They measure your pinky to your. They have you do like this, and they measure. They measure from one finger to the. I mean, it gets down to that intricate of measurements. They want to know how fast you run, how high you jump, how long you jump, how many times you can bench press 225 pounds, all of that. So in certain critical ways, the NFL is racially segregated, as managed much like a plantation. It's 32 owners, none of whom are black, profit substantially from the labor of NFL players, 70% of whom are black. The owners watch the game from atop NFL stadiums in their luxury boxes, while their majority black workforce put their bodies on the line every Sunday, taking vicious hits and suffering debilitating injuries to their bodies and their brains, while NFL and its owners reap billions of dollars. Now, did you hear about, and I'm not sure, we're not going to go through all of this. I'm gonna read a lot of this and then, hit some important sections of this. But did you hear about how the NFL was denying black players that had CTE and compensation differently they were doing white players, because they felt like black players weren't weren't on a white player's cognitive level. So since that was the case, they weren't paying certain black players because they felt that they didn't lose enough cognitive ability, because they didn't, to get paid, because they didn't have it to begin with. That was also a lawsuit. I think that's still in litigation right there. So let's continue. Many players desire to coach for their post-playing careers. Others desire to work their way into management level positions at one of the NFL's 32 teams. Unfortunately, unfortunately for black individuals, that is easier said than done. Only one of the NFL's 32 teams, 3%, employs a black head coach. Only four of the NFL's 32 teams, 12%, employ a black offensive coordinator. Only 11 of the 32 teams, 34%, employ a black defensive coordinator. Now, mind, keep those numbers are important, because the players are made up of 70% black, and if you're talking about 3% head coaching jobs, 12% offensive coordinator, and 34% defensive coordinator, it's not even close. Only 8 of the 32 teams employ a black special teams coordinator. Only 3 of NFL's 32 teams employ a black quarterback coach. Only 6 of NFL's 32 teams employ a black general manager. Not even close. Why is that? These numbers come from a pool of players that is approximately 70% black. This is not by chance. Rather, the statistics above and those described throughout this complaint are the result of racial discrimination. I mean, look at the numbers. I mean, what other conclusion can you come to? If you got a 70% black pool of players that want to be coaches, general managers, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, special teams, and yet they're only a fraction of that percentage. At maximum half. at maximum. So how does it that a 70% pool only garners the highest of 34% higher rate? See, the NFL has effectively conceded to this point. Troy Vincent, the NFL executive vice president of football operations, recently stated with regard to black head coaches. And let me move this up. There's a double standard, and we've seen that. And you talk about the appetite for what's acceptable. Let's just go back to Coach Dungy, was let go in Tampa Bay after a winning season. Coach Wilkes, just a few years prior, was let go after 1 year. Coach Caldwell was fired after a winning season in Detroit. It is part of the larger challenges that we have. But when you just look over time, it's over-indexing for men of color. These men have been fired after winning seasons. How do you explain that? There's a double standard. I don't think that is something that we should shy away from. But that is all a part of some of the things that we need to fix in the system. We want to hold everyone to why does one, let's say, get the benefit of the doubt to be able to build or take bumps and bruises in the process of getting a franchise turned around when others are not afforded that latitude. We've seen that in history at the professional level. Now that's the vice president of football that said that. That's significant. Similarly, Jonathan Bean, the NFL senior vice president and chief diversity and inclusion officer, stated, any criticism we get for lack of representation at the GM and head coach position we deserve. We see that where we want to be, we have to do much better. We're focusing on all roles at the league, and all those roles are key roles. But certainly at the top of the house, general manager and head coach, that's the responsibility of the NFL to make sure that we are representing our current fan base, and we're representing those that are in the league today. And if you look at it right now, we're grossly underrepresented by design. Perhaps worst of all, in connection with its distribution of settlements monies to retirees who suffer from traumatic brain injury. This is what I was talking about earlier. The NFL insisted on applying a so-called race norms, but put simply, the NFL took the position that white people simply have better baseline cognitive function than black people. This is the very definition of racism. The assumption that someone is not as smart as another person because of the color of his or her skin. It is also perhaps explains why the NFL and its teams are so loath to hire black head coaches, coordinators, general managers, just as for years the league discriminated against black quarterbacks. 100%. These are, damn, drop my mouse. These are literal admissions of liability and fault on the part of the NFL. Jesus Christ. Closing the whole thing. And its owners, and yet no meaningful remedial action has been taken to remedy this recognized discrimination. That's crazy, though. How you gonna not pay me for having CTE because you think I didn't have the cognitive ability in the first place? Yeah, Paul Schools, I did get a mouse. I had one. I just lost the battery, and then I was in a different truck and all kind of other shit. But yeah, I ended up getting one. See, even when black candidates get hired for head coaching positions, a rarity, they are discriminated against in connection with the terms and conditions of their employment and compensation, and terminated even as far less successful white coaches are retained. Moreover, black head coaches are far less likely than white head coaches to receive second chances, even as white head coaches are routinely hired by teams even after they fail elsewhere. It has been nearly 20 years since the NFL implemented the Rooney Rule, reportedly to try to combat the utter lack of black head coaches in the NFL. 20 years. As first implemented, the Rooney Rule required NFL teams to interview at least one black person in connection with any head coach vacancy. The Rooney Rule has since been expanded to cover general managers and other front office positions, as well as assistant head coach and coordinator positions. Moreover, as it relates to head coach positions, teams are now required to interview 2 minority coaching candidates, at least one of whom must be interviewed in person. Wow. That's why they were going to give the job to the other dude, and then still go ahead and interview Brian Flores. I mean, listen, when you make rules, people can figure out ways to get around those rules. I mean, they're not billionaires for nothing. So the Rooney Rule may have been well-intentioned, although it is hard to attribute benevolence to the NFL given the complete lack of action that has taken post-Rooney Rule to remedy discrimination that it admits exists. However, well-intentioned or not, what is clear is that the Rooney Rule is not working. It is not working because the number of black head coaches, coordinators, and quarterback coaches are not even close to being reflective of the number of black athletes on the field. The Rooney Rule is also not working because management is not doing the interviews in good faith, and it therefore creates a stigma that interviews of black candidates are not only being done to comply with the Rooney Rule, rather than in recognition of the talents that the black candidates possess. Yeah, they have no intent. They just going through the motions. They don't have no intentions. That's why you could. Captain Levi, appreciate you, man. Let me see. Let me go over here. Let me get back. Let me see. Captain Levi. Did I miss you over here? I think I'm running a little late. I'm looking at the Captain Levi. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's not showing up on my end over here. Trucker dropping. Let's see. We see you, Captain Levi. I can't put you up. Appreciate you, Captain Levi. Appreciate you. I don't know why it's not showing up on my end. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, it's not showing up on my end. Appreciate you, Captain Levi. But yeah, I wasn't showing up. I can't highlight you for some reason. I don't know. You're highlighted on the chat. I'm looking at the chat and trying to read this at the same time. So appreciate you again, Captain Levi. Appreciate you. Let's see. Let's try one more time. Captain Levi, there you go. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I don't know why the other one didn't show up. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Okay, so in January 2022, Mr. Flores, who spent 3 years as head coach of defendant Miami Dolphins, found himself without a job. He was fired by the Dolphins after leading the team to its first back-to-back winning season since 2003. The purported basis for his termination was alleged poor collaboration. In reality, the writing had been on the wall since Mr. Flores' first season as head coach of the Dolphins, when he refused his owner's directive to tank for the first pick in the draft, meaning they wanted him to lose so he could have a better draft position, because teams with shitty records have better draft position. Indeed, during the 2019 season, Miami's owner, Stephen Ross, told Mr. Flores that he would pay him 100 bands for every loss, probably. Yeah. And the team's general manager, Chris Grier, told Mr. Flores that Steve was mad that Mr. Flores' success in winning games that year was compromising the team's draft position. You don't think that's true? Of course it is. After the end of the 2019 season, Mr. Ross began to pressure Mr. Flores to recruit a prominent cornerback in violation of the league's tampering rules. In other words, if you remember, and if you followed or saw the ESPN, the specials they do on certain players, they did a special on Bo Jackson, and Tampa Bay was had flew him in, and I guess they were trying to they did what Mr. Ross was trying to get Mr. Flores to do in trying to recruit a quarterback, which is in violation of the league's tampering rules. That's what happened to Bo Jackson. He got flown in, and because of the flight or something like that, it deemed Bo Jackson ineligible to play college baseball. So because he did that in his senior season, and it affected him, however it affected him, I mean, he ended up getting drafted, but it probably affected his draft position. He vowed to never, he vowed that if Tampa Bay ever drafted him, that he would not play. And he didn't. He went to baseball, didn't play. Mr. Flores repeatedly refused to comply with these improper directives. Undeterred, in the winter of 2020, Mr. Ross invited Mr. Flores onto a yacht for lunch. Shortly after he arrived, Mr. Ross told Mr. Flores that the prominent cornerback was conveniently arriving at the marina. Obviously, Mr. Ross had attempted to set up a purported impromptu meeting between Mr. Flores and the prominent quarterback. Mr. Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht immediately. After the incident, Mr. Flores was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. Because you think you're going to have a black man doing all your dirty shit and then fire him so you can let the white coach take credit for it. You see, from that point forward, Mr. Flores was ostracized, and ultimately he was fired. He was subsequently defamed throughout the media and the league, and he was labeled by the Dolphins brass as someone who was difficult to work with. This is reflective of an all too familiar angry black man stigma that is often casted upon black men who are strong in their morals and convictions, while white men are coined as passionate for those very same attributes. Of course. And then, you don't have it. Why you don't think the black coach gonna do all your dirty shit, all the illegal shit for you? That's crazy, man. See, thus last week, defendant New York Giants had an opportunity to move a step in the right direction, even only one. The Giants had the chance to hire Mr. Flores, an eminently qualified black man, to be the first black head coach in the Giants' nearly 100-year history. You mean you can't find a black coach in 100 years? Instead, the New York Giants made a decision to hire Brian Daboll and disclosed that decision to third parties during a time when the Giants were scheduled to still interview Mr. Flores, and when Mr. Flores was deceptively led to believe he actually had a chance at the job. Why is you wasting my time? Why is you wasting my time? You could have told me on the phone. Because they trying to, they're trying to comply with the Rooney Rule. Thus, on Wednesday, January 26, 2022, Mr. Flores was forced to sit through a dinner with Joe Schoen, however you pronounce that, the Giants' new general manager, knowing that the Giants had already selected Mr. Daboll. Waste of time. Much worse, on Thursday, January 27th, 2022, Mr. Flores had to give an extensive interview for a job that he already knew he would not get. Because Bill Belichick told him he already didn't get the job 3 days ahead of time. An interview that was held for no reason other than for the Giants to demonstrate falsely to the league commissioner, Roger Goodell, that the public at large that it was in compliance with the Rooney Rule. Waste of time. They better had paid for his flight. The Giants would likely have gotten away with this most insidious form of discrimination if the New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick had not mistakenly disclosed it to Mr. Flores. And that's what we read in the beginning. That was his we're gonna go through this. We're gonna let it we're gonna show it put it on the screen. But that's why it was the first thing that was mentioned in the complaint. That was the first thing. And as you see right here, can you see my mouse arrow? There we go. As you see right here, sorry I fucked this up. I double checked and misread the text. Think that they are naming Daboll. I'm sorry about that. BB, Bill Belichick. And he says, thanks, Bill. But he says, let's go up here. Sounds like you have landed. It sounds like you have landed. Now, mind you, this is the wrong text. So if you're getting a text from Bill Belichick that says, sounds like you have landed, congrats. You're thinking that shit, I haven't even interviewed and they're already telling me I got the job. You see, did you hear something I didn't hear? That's Brian Flores. He said Giants. See, I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot at it. Got it. I hear from Buffalo and NYG that you are their guy. Hope it works out if you want it to. And he says, thanks, definitely what I want. I hope you're right, coach. Thank you. Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Daboll? Just making sure. And that's when the statement that started this whole complaint says, sorry, I fucked this up. I double checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Daboll. Sorry about that. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, but it's also telling because if Bill Belichick knew, Bill Belichick used to work for the Giants. He used to coach for the Giants. Incredibly, this was not Mr. Flores' first sham interview that was held only in an effort to comply with the Rooney Rule. Indeed, in 2019, Mr. Flores was scheduled to interview with the Denver Broncos. However, the Broncos then general manager John Elway, that famous quarterback, that won the Super Bowl, John Elway, President and Chief Executive Officer Joe Ellis and others showed up an hour late to the interview. They looked completely disheveled, and it was obvious that they had been drinking heavily the night before. It was clear from the substance of the interview that Mr. Flores was interviewed only because of the Rooney Rule, and that the Broncos never had any intentions to consider him as a legitimate candidate for the job. Shortly thereafter, Vic Fangio, a white man, was hired to be head coach of the Broncos. Now, they did have a black head coach before that, but he didn't last long. And again, if there's no teeth to the Rooney Rule, what's to stop this from happening? If you want to deny it, what's to stop this from happening? Like, just going through the motions and interviewing black head coaches just for the sake of interview. I mean, what's to stop it? I don't know. I do not know. See, having discovered that the Giants and the rest of the NFL had hoped to keep in the dark, Mr. Flores now brings his class action complaint to shine a light on the racial injustices that take place in the NFL and to effectuate real change in the future. Because it didn't happen. That Rooney Rule was trash because it's easy to dance around it. This is what he wants. Among other relief sought, Mr. Flores seeks the following injunctive relief: increase the influence of black individuals in hiring and termination decisions for general manager, head coach, and offensive and defensive coordinator positions. Ensure diversity of ownership by creating and funding a committee dedicated to sourcing black investors to take majority ownership stakes in NFL teams. Ensure diversity of decision-making by permitting select black players and coaches to participate in the interviewing process for general manager, head coach, offensive and defensive coordinators. That would definitely change some shit up. Like creating and funding a committee dedicated to sourcing black investors. You get some color in them ownership positions. It's gonna be a whole lot of this nonsense go away, and then you select, allow decision making by permitting select black players and coaches to participate in the interviewing process. Make it so that your players and their other black coaches have a say so in the decision making process. We're gonna see what that do. That would definitely change the landscape. Increase the objectivity of hiring and termination decisions for general manager, head coach, and offensive and defensive coordinator positions. I think if you get some black owners and you get some black players in there making decisions, that's going to affect some change. Require NFL teams to reduce to writing the rationale for hiring and termination decisions, including a full explanation of the basis for any subjective influences, e.g., trust, personality, interview performance, etc. Require NFL teams to consider side-by-side comparison of objective criteria such as past performance, experience, and objective qualifications. Boy, he laying it on thick, boy. How can you say no to any of this? How can you say you got a team that ain't had a black coach in 100 years? How can you say no to this? Increase the number of black offensive and defensive coordinators. Create create and fund a training program for lower level black coaches who demonstrate an aptitude for coaching and an interest in advancing to a coordinator position. How about that? Incentivize the hiring and retention of black general managers, head coaches, and offensive and defensive coordinators through monetary, draft, and or other compensation, such as additional salary cap space. Oh, now you're talking about giving them some money to hire and keep on these players. Hey, money talk. Complete transparency with respect to pay for all general managers, head coaches, and offensive and defensive coordinators. Yes, because don't be paying no white coaches and shit more money than you play the black coaches. Defendants' conduct has violated Section 1981 of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, Section 1981, the New Jersey law against discrimination. That's the points and authorities and shit. That's the authority. Points and what are the? No, that's the authority. That's not the points. See, plaintiff will file a charge of discrimination with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, and administrative prerequisite to filing an action under Title 7. Is that what it is? Yeah, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act, and will amend this action to include claims under Title 7 at the appropriate time. Pursuant to 8, whatever that is, will serve a copy of the complaint in New York Commission. Let's see, plaintiff will serve a copy of this complaint upon the New York City Commission and Human Rights and the New York City Law Department. I guess it was filed in New York. Office of the Corporation Counsel within 10 days of its filing, thereby satisfying the notice requirement of this action. But they on their job. Plaintiff has complied with any and all other prerequisites to filing this action. Jurisdiction and venue. Court has jurisdiction over this matter pursuant to 28 USC, whatever. And this action involves federal questions. Okay, this is getting into the legalese stuff there, so we're going to skip over this. Parties. Plaintiff Brian Flores is a black man and former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Mr. Flores was not only denied head coach position of the New York Giants, but was humiliated in the process of the New York Giants, subjected to him to a sham interview in an attempt to appear to provide a black candidate with a legitimate chance of obtaining the job. Defendant, the National Football League, is a trade association made up of 32 professional football teams with a principal place of business located at, that's the address. Defendant, New York Giants, is a corporation, blah, blah, blah. It's naming the defendants. John Doe teams 1 through 29 are intended to identify NFL teams who have engaged in discriminatory conduct towards the members of the proposed class, including potentially Arizona Cardinals, blah, 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 all the teams. Naming all the teams. Factual allegations, history, race, discrimination in the NFL. NFL has a tortured and unacceptable history with race relations that requires immediate focus in the first instance. The league remains mired in a culture that lacks inclusivity and where a barrier to entry still exists today for black professionals in leadership. The first, damn it, I don't like PCs. First iteration of NFL began in 1920. The first iteration of the NFL began in 1920. And it was rife with racism. In 1920 through 1926, a total of only 9 black players were permitted into the league. At that time, the only reason black players were permitted at all was because the then existing teams had difficulty filling out their rosters in the league's early days. Heading into the 1927 season, all 5 of the remaining black players at the time left the league, and from 1927 to 1933, only a handful of black players were permitted to participate. Indeed, during that time frame, there was no more than 1 black player in the league per year. In 1933, the league had only 2 black players, but they left at the end of the year, leaving the NFL with none. At this point, NFL was reportedly financially viable and no longer needed black players to fill vacant positions. This led to one of the most despicable moments in the history of professional sports in the United States. It is widely accepted that the NFL used the absence of black players as an opportunity to impose a gentleman's agreement to ban black players entirely. This initiative was led by the Washington football team's owner, George Preston Marshall. The league's other founding owners included, but not limited to, Tim Mara of the New York Giants, appear to have concluded and cooperated in this widespread racial ban. Now, the Washington football team, which is used to be the Washington Redskins. Then it was the Washington football team because they said that the Redskins were racist, which is telling because they were the first. They were the first ones to implement this banning of the black players back in 1920 or whatever. And you also have the New York Giants, which is one of the founding members that also has not had a black football head coach in 100 years. And these are the founding members. Think that's a coincidence? It was not until 1946 that black players were re-entered into the professional football. However, the re-entry of black players into the league was not the result of introspection and a commitment to equality. Rather, when the Cleveland Rams moved to Los Angeles, the publicly funded playing venue, the Los Angeles Coliseum, forced the Rams to integrate at least 1 black player in order to comply with the Supreme Court's decision, Plessy versus Ferguson, that banned segregation in places of public accommodation. They were forced. People who say, "Oh, what is Brian Flores doing?" No, there has to be some persuasion going on in order to get this shit right. In fact, it was reported that during a meeting between local officials, community activists, and the Rams, General Manager Charles F. Walsh, Mr. Walsh admitted to the unwritten racist gentleman's agreement of barring black players. Let's marinate on that for a second. If there was a gentleman's agreement of barring black players, and you're forced to then allow black players to play, that doesn't say anything about the gentleman's agreement to barring black players to be head coaches and general managers, though. That has nothing to do with that. As it would happen, the Rams ultimately signed 2 black players for the 1946 season, but 2 more years would go by before any other team would sign a black player. Still think something needs to happen? It needs to be forced. As of 1950, fewer than half of the NFL's 10 teams had signed a black player. And it was not until more than a decade later that the Washington football team signed its first black player. This is a continuation of this history right here. Listen, they didn't want to sign black players. They don't want to sign black coaches. This is a beautiful complaint. This couldn't be written any better. Now, something doesn't come about this. That's a shame, because this is brilliantly written. In 1959, 13 years later, after the start of integration, only 12% of the league's players were black. Even as integration slowly progressed, the stain of racism persisted. Teams reportedly put unwritten quotas on how many black players could be signed, and often teams would stack black players on the same position so that they would be eliminated as a matter of competition on roster cuts. It was also reported that black players received less compensation than their white counterparts. Listen, kind of sounds familiar. They would stack black players in the same position so they would have to compete with each other, so when they got cut, they have an alibi. So you would also hire a black coach during a rebuilding phase, so you can blame the losses on the black coach and then hire a white one. Along the same lines, kind of sounds like the same type of trickeration. The NFL only engaged in genuine full-scale racial integration when it became economically necessary due to outrage and protests from writers and fans. The emergence of the rival and more racially progressive leagues such as the All-American Football Conference, AAFC, All-American Football League, AFL, and the success of numerous minority athletes in college football. See? It was the competition that did it. When you're the only game in town like the NFL is, they can do whatever they want. That's why they was trying to snuff out, allegedly, XFL and all of them other leagues, and they don't want no competition because they're gonna have to, if you get another league to compete with the NFL, and that league did like that those leagues back in the day did, and start playing black players and that kind of thing. You get a league that starts hiring black coaches and they start being successful, NFL gonna have to do something. Of course, integration was hardly the end of black struggle in the NFL. Untold forms of discrimination still follow black players from team to team, city to city, stadium to stadium, and hotel to hotel. In fact, through the NFL, though the NFL had integrated 23 years earlier, when Washington owner Mr. Marshall died in 1969, he abhorrently stipulated that his estate be used to establish the Redskins Foundation on the condition that it was barred from spending money for any purpose which supports or employs the principle of racial integration in any form. This dude died and said, don't be giving my money to them black people. And listen, I just heard a commentator, or maybe it was a YouTube channel, just the other day saying, oh, there's no racism in this decision. There's no racism. Come on, man. There's no racism. You're out of your mind, dude. It's obvious. The NFL has profited immensely from racial integration of its players. Initially considered a second-tier sport, NFL has thrived as an integrated league over the last 75 years. While the NFL was forced to racially integrate its players to generate these immense profits, it was not forced to do so in other areas. So it did not. And that they're talking about is the head coaching and other coaching positions. It took approximately 20 years for the league to hire its first black official. It's widely known by even casual NFL fans that it took until at least the 1980s, approximately 40 years after integration, for teams to genuinely accept black players at the quarterback position. Couldn't even play quarterback. It took 43 years for the first black head coach to be hired, Art Shell, by Al Davis, Oakland Raiders. It took 54 years for an NFL team to hire a black general manager, Ozzie Newsome, who was also a player. It took 76 years following integration. See, now 76 years following integration, there has never been a black commissioner and there has never been a black majority owner in the NFL. So they only doing what they are obligated to do. Meaning, if you're going to cut off my money, I'm going to let these black players play. But other than that, we're not doing nothing. Because they had to be forced anyway to do anything. The LA was over there telling them, look, you can't, man, you're going to have to do something about that, dude. That was LA. For a league and its team owners to have profited immensely off the talent of black players, the NFL has never fully acknowledged its history of racism or taken appropriate steps to address its racial disparities. As a black sports writer once wrote, persons, corporations, or business almost always forget the people or incidents that made them big. The NFL took all the aid and all the aid the colored American could give, and then soon as it became big league, promptly put a bar up against the very backbone of its existence. Yeah. Of course, they're trying to hold on to that for dear life. It's slowly slipping away. Case in point, Mr. Marshall, in many ways, the personification of NFL's deep-seated institutional racism, is enshrined in the Hall of Fame, and his contributions are lauded by Hall of Fame's website, with only a passing reference to the fact that he endured his share of criticism for not integrating his team until being forced to do so in 1962. 62. That was 9 years before I was born. That's not that far away. That is, let's see. That is the NFL. That is, the NFL does not even acknowledge, much less condemn, Mr. Marshall's role in the league's history with racism. Rather, it only notes that he received criticism from others. Of course. Listen, they already said they're not going to do nothing until they're forced to do it. Let's see. The NFL's ongoing problem with race. History shows that the NFL is synonymous with ownership resistance to anti-racist protests that continues to the present day. And it's stating the points and authorities. Discrimination against Colin Kaepernick. Let's see. Well documented. Let's see. As has been well documented during the 2016 season, Colin Kaepernick protested societal racial injustice by kneeling during the national anthem. Okay, we're gonna skip through some of this. Let's see. Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll explained the Seahawks rationale for not bringing him in. He's a starter in this league, and we have a starter, but he's a starter in this league. Huh? Hold on. Let's see. Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll explained the Seahawks rationale for not bringing him in. He's a starter in this league, and we have a starter. but he's a starter in this league, and I can't imagine that someone won't give him a chance to play. Let's see. New York Giants gave him, Mr. Kaepernick, no consideration and suggested that it was because the team feared backlash. Of course. He labeled him dangerous. If it's a statement that journalists understandably labeled dangerous. Let's see. In a 2017 article, Colin Kaepernick is not supposed to be unemployed. The statistic website 538 stated it's obvious Kaepernick is being frozen out for his political opinions. That no above average quarterback has been unemployed. Yeah. Nearly as long as Colin Kaepernick, and it's easy to see. Nearly as long as Kaepernick, and it's easy to lose sight of the reality that good quarterbacks often never reach free agency, let alone remain unsigned for so long. Of course. It's obvious if you think there's something other than that. Colin Kaepernick protests received various reactions, both positive and negative, with President Donald Trump siding against him and calling him on the nearly all-white NFL owners to fire players who protest during the national anthem. President Trump referred a player who protested, clearly referring to Mr. Kaepernick, as a son of a bitch. We all know this story. It just keeps going. Just keeps going. John Gruden, 30-year NFL insider and 3-time head coach, is the embodiment of the NFL's acquiescence to racism. In October 2021, it was disclosed that between 2011 and 2018, Mr. Gruden exchanged a slew of emails containing racist, misogynistic, and homophobic slurs to Washington football team then general manager Bruce Allen. Mr. Gruden remarked, DeMaurice Smith, the NFL's Players Association executive director, had lips the size of Michelin tires. Mr. Gruden also stated that players who protested the national anthem to protest racial inequality should be fired, just like Donald Trump. I lost all respect for that dude as soon as I heard that. Mr. Smith responded to reports of these emails saying racism like this comes from the fact that I'm at the same table as they are, and they don't think someone who looks like me belongs. As stated, Mr. Gruden's emails also contain a slew of additional offensive conduct. The emails referred to Mr. Goodell as a, we're not going to say that word, and clueless anti-football, we're not going to say that word either, and said Mr. Goodell should not have pressured the Rams to draft, we're not going to say that word either, referring to drafting Michael Sam, the first openly gay player drafted by the NFL team in 2014, something which the Rams coach has denied. Mr. Gruden also called the United States Vice President Joe Biden a nervous, clueless, so we're not going to say that word. And it gives all the authority here. Points and authority. That's the points. Okay. Just so you know. These are the points. Like 78, all this paragraph 78. I guess that's paragraph 78. That's the point. Just so you know what points and authority are. And then subsection of 14 and 15, that's the authority. That means that the points means you make your point, and then the authority is what you use to prove your point. I'm a little rusty. A little bit rusty when it comes to this. Let's see. Mr. Gruden and Mr. Allen also exchanged emails with other members of the Washington football team staff with photos of topless women, including 2 team cheerleaders. Inappropriate. Massively inappropriate. One of the emails for 2015 that includes several football insiders, Mr. Allen Gruden asked Mr. Allen to tell Brian Glazer, part of the family which owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to perform oral sex on him. Come on, dude. Mr. Gruden also mocked Caitlyn Jenner, a transgender former athlete. Of course he did. It simply cannot be a surprise to NFL executives, insiders, and team owners who have collectively spent the last 3 decades in the proximity of Mr. Gruden that this is who Mr. Gruden is, and that these are the beliefs of that he harbors. Nonetheless, Mr. Gruden remained in the inner circle candidate for virtually every head coach position over the 10-year period that followed his departure from Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2008. Even though he was saying all that stuff and whatever. Ultimately, 2018, Mr. Gruden received the largest contract in history after he said all that stuff for an NFL coach when the Las Vegas Raiders signed him to a 10-year, $100 million deal. The Raiders hiring of Mr. Gruden occurred in close succession with the Raiders firing of general manager Reggie McKenzie, one of the few black general managers in the league. Under Mr. McKenzie, the Raiders had the highest percentage of black players at 82.3%, and he won the NFL Executive of the Year award in 2016 after compiling a 12-4 record. Only 2 years later, Mr. McKenzie was fired and replaced by Mike Mayock, a white candidate. Under all-white leadership, owner, general manager, and head coach, the percentage of black players was decreased every year that followed. By 2021, the percentage of black players in the Raiders roster dropped to 67%. So that's a total of close to 20%. Although Mr. Gruden is no longer employed by the Raiders, it has been reported that the NFL was well aware of Mr. Gruden's offensive emails for several months and took no action. When the news of Mr. Gruden's racist emails finally surfaced, rather than an unequivocal rebuke and a for-cause termination, the Raiders allowed him to graciously resign and claimed that it was due to his desire not to be a distraction. Mr. Gruden even had the gall to blame the NFL and Mr. Goodall, claiming that they were responsible, not him, for his own actions for his termination. Let's see, the NFL's concussion settlement discriminated against black players. NFL in 2011, retired NFL players began filing personal injury actions in courts around the country seeking damages for relief in the form of medical monitoring. Some of these actions were filed in behalf of class, some for small groups of former players, and others for individuals. As alleged in concussion lawsuits, the NFL for decades was aware of the evidence and the risks associated with repetitive traumatic brain injuries, but nonetheless ignored, minimized, disputed, and actively suppressed broader awareness of the link between subconcussive and concussive injuries in football and the chronic neurocognitive damage, illnesses, and decline suffered from former players. Those are points, and these are the authorities underneath, just so you know. The NFL was also alleged to have failed to warn players and or impose safety regulations governing this health and safety problem, and produced industry-funded, biased, and falsified research that claimed that concussive and subconcussive head impacts in football did not present serious life-altering risks. You lying mother effers. Of course they would say that. The concussion lawsuits identified a number of retired NFL players who were diagnosed with traumatic brain injuries following their playing career and sought money damages for injury and death, as well as medical treatment for retired players diagnosed with TBI. And you know that there were players that committed suicide, and they blamed it on CTE. Junior Seau was one of them. I don't remember. There was a few, and there was a few other ones. Ultimately, the claims were consolidated and settled in 2014. Under the settlement agreement, a former player who has a qualified diagnosis is eligible for monetary benefits. A diagnosis is qualifying primarily, but not exclusively, if rendered by physicians approved by the NFL or in conjunction with the NFL's baseline assessment program. Let's see what the baseline assessment program is. And let's see if it's racist or not. The BAP, Baseline Assessment Program, is intended both to identify symptoms of eligible conditions and to collect data for comparison to later testing to establish any subsequent decline in a retired player's cognitive functioning. Claims for monetary awards are first reviewed by a claims administrator. In the first instance, any appeals of the claims administrator's determinations are heard by an appeals advisory panel. Any appeals from the appeals advisory panel are brought to the court that entered the settlement agreement. According to a lawsuit filed by former Black NFL players Kevin Henry, Najee Davenport, according to a lawsuit, by those players, as well as media reports, the NFL began regularly insisting that physicians use race norms in determining whether a retiree had suffered cognitive impairment. The race norming lawsuit, when Black retirees were deemed to be cognitively impaired, the NFL regularly appealed such determinations if race norming was not used. Now, tell me how the NFL is not racist. That if when a Black player was deemed to be cognitively impaired, the NFL regularly appealed such the NFL regularly appealed, not the owners, not anybody else. The NFL regularly appealed such determinations if race norming was not used. Let's see if it explains what race norming is. As alleged in the race norming lawsuit, the National Football League has been avoiding paying head injury claims under the settlement agreement based on a formula for identifying qualifying diagnosis that explicitly and deliberately discriminates on the basis of race. Still want to say NFL is not racist? To that dude had said what is that dude's name? I think I seen him on YouTube maybe. Oh, racist is not a factor. It's not a factor. Shut your ass up. When being evaluated for the qualifying diagnosis of neurocognitive impairment, Black former players are automatically assumed through a statistical manipulation called race norming to have started with worse cognitive functioning than white former players. Wow. Still saying it ain't racism, huh? Let's read it again. When being evaluated for the qualifying diagnosis of neurocognitive impairment, Black former players are automatically assumed through statistical manipulation called race norming to have started with worse cognitive functioning than white former players. Do you think that has anything to do with whether or not they hire Black coaches? As a result, if a Black former player and a white former player receive the exact same raw scores on a battery of tests designed to measure their current cognitive functioning, the black player is presumed to have suffered less impairment, as he is therefore likely to qualify for compensation. Less likely. So if the NFL is using race norming to determine whether or not a black player is cognitively impaired, you don't think they're using the same race norming when it comes to hiring black coaches? Of course they do. Of course they do. Of course they do. The NFL, look, you got the owners who hire, and you got the NFL who's using race norming to determine whether or not a black player is cognitively impaired enough. Put another way, the NFL insisted that white people simply have better cognitive function than black people. Thus, if a black person was found to be cognitively impaired, the NFL would often not accept that diagnosis unless the physician gave adequate consideration to the possibility that black people simply do not function cognitively as well as white people. This is the NFL. This is the NFL. Still think Jay-Z is doing anything over there besides smiling and dancing? This is the very definition of racism. The assumption that someone is not as smart as another person because of the color of his skin. In 2022. BB Crowd, so Trucker, why are people acting like this is new shit? It's not. But sometimes it depends on if it affects you or not, whether or not you pay attention. If you're white, you probably don't stay on top of black people's difficulties with racism. So it's like you have to put it in a lawsuit and state it this way, which is brilliantly. I mean, this lawsuit is the best. I mean, they putting it down. We're gonna see what's gonna happen, but sometimes you got to really spell it out for white people sometimes. I mean, you know, they got every excuse under the sun. Like I just heard some dude that said that, I don't know if he's talking about Brian Flores or whatever, but it was not like, oh, Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is the, let's see, right. Flores didn't care much until it was affected him, maybe. I mean, it ain't new. You're right. It ain't new. It ain't till it did, but at the same time, I mean, you know, if that's your career and you know how to look what happened to Colin Kaepernick. Do you really want to cut your neck off like that? You know what I'm saying? Let's see, Flores probably thought he was all good with the white folk until he couldn't get the job. Just that's possible. That's possible. That's very possible. I mean, that's it's one of those things, like corporate shit. You know, if you want to be in the mix, you gotta play the game. And I mean, it wasn't until they excluded him that he had a problem. You're right, BB Cross. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I didn't really pay attention to that, but listen, this is a hell of a fucking it's a hell of a lawsuit here. let's see. Okay. The NFL's attempt to pander during widespread societal racial protest. They're probably going to talk about Jay-Z. I can almost guarantee you're talking about Jay-Z. Following protests of George Floyd and other instances of racially charged violence, Roger Goodell publicly apologized for the league's previous response to players protesting, saying, "We were wrong for not listening to the NFL players earlier." Yeah, right. You're just thinking it's going to affect your bottom line. And he did say that he hired Jay-Z and everything. Let's see if he talk about Jay-Z. Goodell further encouraged all to speak out and peacefully protest, and said, without black players, there would be no NFL. He know that. And the protests around the country are emblematic of the centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of black players, coaches, fans, and staff. All of a sudden, despite the blatant collusion against him, Mr. Goodell declared in a publicly released video that Black Lives Matter and announced that the NFL desired to work with Mr. Kaepernick in the creation and distribution of a $250 million foundation for social justice initiative. And then they go hire Jay-Z, which did absolutely nothing. These remarks and actions, emblematic of the phrase too little, too late, were largely ridiculed by the public as hypocritical and an obvious attempt to pander to growing public sentiment against racial injustice. Absolutely. Absolutely. Racial discrimination requires real and meaningful attention, not mere sound bites when it's in the league's financial interest. Absolutely. And that's exactly why there's a lack of black coaches and the failure of the Rooney Rule. 100%. 100%. Troy Vincent, a Hall of Fame black former cornerback and current NFL executive vice president, recently stated, I think we read that already. Oh, wait a minute. No, we didn't. Recently stated, with regard to the treatment of black head coaches in the NFL, there's a double standard. We've all seen that. And you talk about the appetite for what's acceptable. Let's go back to the coach Dungy was let go in Tampa Bay after winning season. Okay, we read that already. We already read that already. Okay. Mr. Vincent Commons announces it. Okay, we can skip ahead. Let's see. Historically, head coach positions were closed to black candidates until Art Shell broke the color barrier in 1989. Still, Mr. Shell was the only one of 5 black coaches between then and 2003. As one sports writer noted, in 2003, NFL franchise owners had to be prodded to seriously consider black candidates to coach their teams. They were willing to sign black players to make money while risking their health, but they were reluctant to let them lead their teams after they were done playing. This is a reference to what is commonly known as the Rooney Rule. Let's see. By way of brief background, 2002, Johnny L. Cochran Jr., a civil rights. That's Johnny Cochran. Wait, hold on. By way of brief background, in 2002, Johnny L. Cochran Jr., that's the one from the OJ trial, civil rights attorney Cyrus Mary, that's how you say it, and labor economist Dr. Janice Madden together produced a detailed report on the NFL's head coaching hiring practices entitled Black Coaches in the NFL League. And that was in 2002, 20 years ago. Superior performance, inferior opportunities. The report analyzed the NFL's hiring and firing practices over the previous 15 seasons, and the statistics shows evidence of discrimination. That was 35 years ago. So they went back 35 years ago in 2002. No, in 2022, they went back 35 years. And and analyzed 15 seasons 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, they went back 15 years. So a total of 35 years. We're still talking about it right now. Crazy. NFL is not racist. Including that black head coaches candidates were less likely to be hired, and that black head coaches were more likely to be fired. It's still an accusation today, 35 years later. BB Cross, I'm drinking Monster. It's that pink one. I forgot the name of it. Let's see, Captain Levi. To be honest, those white NFL owners love being in control. They want to keep their money and their control. 100%. 100%. 100%. Due to the public sentiment gathering to address this problem, on October 31st, 2002, the NFL appointed a committee on workplace diversity headed by Pittsburgh Steelers president Dan Rooney to study the issue further, hence what I call it the Rooney Rule. On December 20th, 2002, this committee issued its recommendations, including that the NFL teams make a commitment to interview minority candidates for every head coaching job opening, with limited exceptions. In December 2002, the owners approved this recommendation because they knew they were going to get around it. It was like, man, all we got to do is interview. Oh, we ain't got to do nothing. Since its passage, the Rooney Rule has been amended several times in an effort to strengthen its impact on diversity and inclusion, or to at least appear to do that. Yeah, the appear. It now applies to general managers and other front office positions, as well as assistant head coaches and coordinator positions. Moreover, the teams are now required to interview 2 minority head coach candidates and at least 1 in person. However, the Rooney Rule has failed to yield any meaningful change to an institution so fully steeped in discriminatory practices. That's why they approved it. That's why they approved it, because they knew it was going to be able to get around it. Man, them billionaires, man, they ain't got let's see, HoodTrucker got on black distressed jeans with his Valentine boxer shorts. Let's see, Miss Nobody in the building. Hey, Miss Nobody. Let's see who else. Who's in there? Beware. So I see you. Let's see who else. Paul Screws in the building. Joe in the building. BB Cross, Naifa. Who else? Okay, let's continue. Let's see. In the 20 years since the Rooney Rule was passed, only 15 head coaching positions have been filled by black candidates. That's less than 1 a year. During that time, there have been approximately 129 head coaching vacancies, though. So out of 129 head coaching vacancies, only 15 have been garnered by black candidates. Thus, only 11% of head coaching positions have been filled by black candidates in a league where 70% of players are black. With few exceptions. The black candidates who have attained head coaching positions have been on a short leash and lasted for extremely short periods, while white candidates have much lengthier opportunities to prove their worth. In addition, upon information and belief, in general, black coaches at all levels are paid less than similarly qualified white coaches. Of course. Of course. The only exception, I think, would be coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. What is his name? I forgot. Anyway, indeed, not a single one of the 10 black head coaches hired since 2012 still holds his head coach job today. In contrast, 25% of the white head coaches hired during the same time frame remain employed as head coach. Moreover, since 2012, black head coaches have been fired at an average of 2.5 years, whereas accounting for head coaches that are expected to return next year, white head coaches have averaged nearly 3.5 years on the job. Put another way, white coaches are afforded an entire additional year to establish themselves, relative to black head coaches. Moreover, since 1978, only 16 winning teams have fired their head coaches, 3%, even though black men only held a small fraction of the head coaching positions during that time. Astounding 25%, 4 of the 16 of the head coaches fired after winning seasons were black. This statistics is even more remarkable given that there have only ever been 17 black head coaches who have coached a full season, and 4 of them were fired after winning seasons. In contrast, only 6.9 of white coaches were fired after winning season, 12 out of 174. Thus, black head coaches are 3.5 times more likely to be fired, even when successful. Moreover, unsuccessful white head coaches routinely get second and third chances in critical positions, including as a head coach or offensive or defensive coordinator. Indeed, according to a 2021 NFL Diversity and Inclusion Report, since 1963, 116 white individuals have been hired as head coach or coordinator after initial head coach opportunities, whereas only 21 individuals of color have received the same second chances. The same report noted that only one person of color has received 3 head coaching opportunities, whereas 15 white men have received 3 head coaching opportunities. 2 of the 15 received 4 opportunities. Thus, while the Rooney Rule was and remains well-intentioned, its effectiveness requires NFL teams to take it seriously and not treat it as formality that must be endured simply to formalize the predetermined hiring of white coach. Moreover, it requires that teams provide black head coaches a fair and legitimate chance, a chance commensurate with the circumstance and comparable to the chances given to white head coaches to thrive. But that has not happened. As a result, following the recent terminations of Mr. Flores and David Culley, former head coach of the Houston Texans, there is currently only one black head coach out of 32 NFL teams. The following photo array speaks for itself. They included the photo. They included the photo. Hold on. Yeah. White. Oh, they go, black dude. Tomlinson. I forgot his first name. At the time the Rooney Rule was instituted almost 20 years ago, there were 3 black head coaches. Now there's only 1. That marks a complete lack of improvement and, in fact, a move backwards in the wrong direction. That's why they approved it. As was recently well put by sports writer Jamel Hill, most NFL owners have been white men, and they have seldom been willing to let African Americans or Latinos call plays, either on the field or from the sidelines. This is no different from when franchises presumed that black players weren't smart enough to play quarterback and lacked leadership skills to command men. Their league's paltry record of hiring minority head coaches comes from the same mindset as its primary effort to address the problem has been a failure because a policy can't compensate for ignorance. If the NFL wants to create an equitable system for minority head coaches, the owners can't rely on the rule to create institutional change. Ms. Hill continued, NFL owners must recognize that their lazy stereotypes of black male leadership have created this embarrassing problem. In time, we'll see whether they have the courage to fix it, as has been evidenced by the New York Giants head coach search and treatment of Mr. Flores. The NFL and its team clearly do not. Racial disparities extend to coordinator and general manager positions. Ah, shit. Let's see. Racial disparities also exist in the hiring and retention of coordinator at coordinator positions as well. Offensive, defensive coordinators are significantly overrepresented by white candidates and underrepresented by black candidates. These positions are often filled by a pool of former players, approximately 70% of whom are black. Yeah, not 70% though. Currently, there are only 4 black offensive coordinators in 32-team league, 11 black defensive coordinators. This is significant given that, according to the NFL's Diversity Inclusion Report covering 2012 through 2021, published in 2021, teams focus on coordinators and in particular offensive coordinators when it comes to considering candidates for head coaching positions. During the period studied, approximately 80% of head coach hires were previously coordinators. Which is a good idea. According to the study, 31 of 62 head coaching positions were filled by offensive coordinators, where black professionals are the most underrepresented, while 18 head coaches were filled by defensive coordinators. Moreover, only 3 out of 32 teams have a black quarterbacks coach, which is the position that most often leads to an offensive coordinator opportunity. This figure is not entirely surprising given the NFL's history of racism when it comes to the quarterback position. Absolutely. This shows that not only are NFL head coaches predominantly white, but that the pipeline feeding this racial disparity is fraught with discrimination. This is indicative of the structural discrimination that pervades NFL teams and likely ensures that this problem will remain. Some NFL teams are more willing to hire black professionals into positions they deem to be less important and less likely to lead to head coach positions. The same discriminatory practices are apparent when it comes to the hiring of general managers. Currently, 30 out of 32 teams, there are only 6 black general managers against 26 white managers, and they have the pictures to show it. It's cold. They include the pictures. According to the NFL Diversity Inclusion Report from 2012-2021, there were 37 general manager vacancies. Only 6 were filled by blacks. 20 NFL teams had never had a black general manager. Stands to reason that whether explicit or implicit, white decision makers tend to favor white candidates for more significant positions, as numerous studies suggest there is same race bias in decision making. Yeah. To that end, the NFL has no black owners. They got a woman owner, and she looks like to be Asian or Hispanic. No black ones, though. Not one. They got women. They got a few women. No blacks, though. Look, here they go. Even more. You got some women in there. You got an Asian dude. If he ain't Asian, he's Indian. I think he's Asian. Women, Asians, they let a women before a black dude. Crazy. And they're all participating in this shit. Owners are ultimately responsible for leading the entire organization, establishing an inclusive culture and deciding who to hire and retain in front office leadership positions such as general managers. The lack of any black voices in ownership clearly has led to a dearth of opportunities for black general managers, which has in turn undermined racial inclusion in the NFL for more than 100 years. That's crazy. They got an Asian in there. They got women in there. All of which incur discrimination. It goes by his Mr. Flores' backgrounds and all of that. We're gonna skip ahead of that. We don't need to know his background. I mean, he's qualified. I mean, they gave him the job. Let's see, New York Giants. Okay, sham interview. We're gonna skip over. We already know it's a sham. We're gonna skip over that. Here goes the Texas again. Let's see if there's anything new. No, there goes the Texas again. I don't know why they have the Texas again. It's kind of repetitive now. Let's see, Mr. Let's see. It's impossible to put words and emotions. Okay, tripping on the job. The Giants' treatment is consistent with his past. Let's see. Let's look at that. The Giants' treatment of Mr. Flores is consistent with his past. The Giants, in particular, have an ominous history when it comes to race relations. In particular, when it comes to hiring black coaches, they've never hired one. Giants have never hired a black coach. Never. Year after year, Giants have interviewed black candidates for open head coach positions, likely due to only the requirements of the Rooney Rule, without ever hiring one. 2004, the Giants hired Tom Coughlin after interviewed Romeo Cornell, who would go on to receive a head coach position for the Cleveland Browns, Kansas City Chiefs, and Houston Texans, and Lovie Smith, who would go on to receive the head coach position of the Chicago Bears. So they're good enough for those positions, but not for yours. When Mr. McAdoo was terminated after just 2 years, the Giants hired Pat Shurmur after interviewing Steve Wilkes and Eric Studsville, 2 highly qualified black candidates. Yeah, of course. Do you mean? Wait a minute. Do they mean that they ain't hired a coordinator either? Hold on. Let's go back. Let's see. After Tom Coughlin left the organization in 2016, the Giants hired Ben McAdoo after interviewing Terrell Austin, the highly qualified black defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And McAdoo was terminated after just 2 years. The Giants hired Pat Shurmur after interviewing Steve Wilkes and Eric Studsville, 2 highly qualified black candidates. After Shurmur was fired 2 years later, the Giants passed over Eric Bieniemy, who many consider to be the best head coach prospect on the market. Happens to be black, though. As well as Chris Richard, and instead hired Joe Judge, who himself was fired just 2 years later. More to the point, only once since the passage of the Rooney Rule have the Giants even interviewed more than the minimum number of black candidates for head coach. And it is not for a lack of quality candidates. This demonstrates the Giants interview black candidates because of the NFL mandate and for no other reason. I mean, listen, if you always interviewing these motherfuckers and they go on to coach other teams, somebody else thought they was qualified, yet you have never. Incredibly, this was not Mr. Flores' first sham interview that was held. Okay, Denver Broncos. Let's see. Yeah, it talks about the Denver Broncos again. You already heard that. They hired Steve Mariucci. Let's see. In 2003, soon after the Rooney Rule was adopted, the Detroit Lions were looking for head coach. Team president Mac Millen made it clear that the team expected to hire Steve Mariucci. Likely because the Lions' intention to hire Jim Mariucci was made so well known, 5 minority coaching candidates, including Dennis Green, who had a 97-62 record as head coach of the Minnesota Vikings for 10 seasons, understandably turned down interviews. Like, why not? Exactly. I ain't gonna spend my money and waste my time to do all that. Similar to the Giants with Mr. Flores, the Lions were looking to interview black candidates, and not because of any genuine intent to give any of them a fair shot at the job. It was only in an attempt to engage in false compliance with the Rooney Rule. The NFL determined that the Rooney Rule had been violated and fined the team a paltry $200,000. Yeah. Because nobody wanted to show up, probably. Jim Caldwell fired after winning season and replaced with white coaches. In 2009, Jim Caldwell was hired by Indianapolis In 2009, Jim Caldwell was hired as the Indianapolis Colts head coach. The team went 14-2 its first year and made it to the Super Bowl, followed by 10-6 record and the AFC South Division title for a second year in a row, a total of 27-8 over his first 2 seasons. The following years, the Colts lost their starting quarterback, Peyton Manning, around whom the entire team had been built, and the team fell to 2-14. Despite his past success and the justifiable reasons for his poor record in 1 season out of 3, Mr. Caldwell was fired. In 2014, the Detroit Lions hired Mr. Caldwell. In his first year of the team, went 11-5, a 4-game improvement from the previous year. The Lions fell to 7-9 in 2015, but rebounded to 9-7 in 2016 and made it to the playoffs. The Lions were 9-7 again in 2017, but missed the playoffs. Thus, Mr. Caldwell had 3 winning seasons in 4 years for one of the historically worst franchises in the NFL. Why did I say that? Let's see. Nonetheless, Mr. Caldwell was fired the day after his 4th season. Lions have gone 17-40 since his departure, with only white head coaches, including no playoff experience and no season with any greater than 6 wins. In the more than 3 years since losing the Lions' job, Mr. Caldwell has not received any further opportunities as head coach, despite numerous openings and interviewing no fewer than 5 times for different positions. Yeah, because they got it. They got to feel that they got to check the box, or else they're gonna get fined $200,000. They don't care nothing about them. Double standard, Steve Wilkes. In 2018, Arizona also hired Steve Wilkes, a longtime NFL coach for several franchises, and led his team to a disappointing 3-13 record in his first season. However, it was his first season, and he was not given any time to develop the team or culture, and he was stuck with numerous burdens not of his own making. He had a rookie quarterback in Josh Rosen, 9th pick. The team GM, Steve Kim, was suspended for 5 weeks following a DUI during training camp, and the Cardinals had numerous injuries to key players. Mr. Kim, a white GM, kept his job, but Mr. Wilkes was fired. The next head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, went 5-10 his first year with Kyler Murray as a rookie quarterback, first pick, and he retained his job and was given time to improve. Discriminatory treatment. David Culley. David Culley has been a collegiate and NFL coach for more than 45 years, including 27 years in the NFL. Despite his reputation and success, Mr. Culley has never hired into an offensive or defensive coordinator position. However, in January 2021, the Houston Texans hired Mr. Culley to be head coach though it was widely considered to be one of the most difficult situations for a first-year head coach in memory. The previous season, the Texans went 4-12, despite having Pro Bowl quarterback Deshaun Watson start every game, throw 33 touchdowns against only 7 interceptions, end with a passer rating of 112, which is pretty damn good. However, Mr. Watson was unavailable to play due to allegations of sexual misconduct, and Mr. Culley was forced to start Davis Mills, a rookie third-round draft pick, at quarterback. The team had also lost its top 2 players in recent years, J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins. Mr. Culley's prospects for success were nearly impossible, but Mr. Culley managed to coach the team to the same record as the team had its previous season. Hell of a coaching display right there. Immediately after the season ended, the Texans fired Mr. Culley without explanation other than vague philosophical differences, which begs the question why he was hired just 1 year earlier in the first place. Even the Texas GM acknowledged that a change after one season is unusual. No opportunity provided for Chris Richard. Chris Richard has been a collegiate and NFL coach for more than 10 years. He boasts an impressive resume, including being instrumental in the formation of the Seahawks Legion of Boom as both a secondaries coach and a defensive coordinator in the mid-2010s. He was also very successful as a defensive assistant for the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints. Mr. Richard had 5 head coach interviews during the 2018-2019 hiring cycles and received no offers. Meanwhile, 6 white head coaches were hired in 2018 and another 6 were hired in 2019. Mr. Richards was reportedly not interviewed at all during the 2020 cycle, and it seems now that he has been considered only for defensive coordinator positions. Terrell Austin, okay, he's going to go. Eric Bieniemy, can I get Eric? He's just going for examples. Coach for Minnesota Vikings. Mr. Bieniemy was named Minnesota Vikings assistant head coach for the offense. Mr. Bieniemy returned to Colorado. Chiefs advanced the AFC and they lost to Tom Brady. Mr. Bieniemy won his first Super Bowl when the Chiefs. He was a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. He still can't get a job. Without question, Mr. Bieniemy has a pedigree, track record, and reputation to make him sought after head coach. However, despite being interviewed for approximately 20 vacant positions over the last 5 years, no team has extended Mr. Bieniemy an offer. He's a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator and has yet to be offered a position. Incredible. Allegation, class definition. Let's see. All black coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterback coaches, as well as general managers and black candidates for those positions during the applicable. Okay, let's go into allegations. Oh shit. It's gonna get like really technical or something, I'm assuming. Numerous and impracticality of joinder. I don't even know what that is. Common questions of law and fact. Okay, it's gonna get really legal. Typicality of claims and relief sought. Okay, we got 8 pages left. Okay. Requirement of rule. Okay. And requirement. Yeah. Okay, y'all can go ahead and read this. I think we're pretty much done. Let's see. First cause of action, discrimination under Section 1981 on behalf of plaintiff and the proposed class as to all defendants. Plaintiff on behalf of himself and the proposed class hereby repeats, reiterates, and re-alleges each and every previous allegation as it fully set forth herein. It's going to repeat everything, so we'll just skip over that. Second cause of action, discrimination Discrimination under the NY, I think that's the state law thing or something. Third cause of action, discrimination. Okay, it's NY stuff. Yeah. Legalese. Fourth cause. Prayer for relief. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Wherefore plaintiff prays that the court enters judgment in his favor and against the defendants for the following relief. A declaratory judgment that the actions, conduct, and practices of the defendants complained of herein violate the laws of the United States and the state and city of New York and the state of New Jersey. An award of injunctive relief necessary to cure defendants' discriminatory policies and practice. Certification of this action as in class action pursuant to rule. Okay, whatever. Just saying, asking for the judge to rule in their favor, and then there's the end of it. Pretty much, that's it. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So there you have it. Pretty discriminatory, in my opinion. Let's see. HoodTrucker got mad, took his shirt off, and quit his high school football team. Let's see. BB Cross, everyone is talking about him, though. Even Trevor Noah, CNN, ESPN, Colin Cowherd, NBC. Let's see. Paulsky, I haven't heard till now. I don't care. Well, I mean, it's a football thing and a coaching thing, so you might not care. HoodTrucker, you got a new Toyota? No, I just got the hat. I got a new hat. Toyota blessed me not too long ago, so I got to represent the hat. So, what do y'all think? Y'all don't care? Y'all care? Whatever. I think it's. Look, if you're gonna make money, okay. Regardless of whether or not this lawsuit is, disingenuous or not, meaning that he only filed a lawsuit because he was discriminated against. I mean, that's usually why you file a discrimination lawsuit, because you were discriminated against. I think that this might have some teeth. Let's see. I think Flores doing a Kwame Brown. I mean, look. I mean, somebody got to speak up. I mean, he basically did sacrifice his career because he'll never coach again. Not in the NFL. He'll never coach again in the NFL. And that's how they do that. I mean, it's like, they're going to blackball you. It's going to be retaliatory. They're going to retaliate because they don't like people that they cover that NFL logo. It's covered. You can't really see it all. Let's see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I hope that they clean that shit up, because that's crazy how you could have. It's crazy how you could have 70% black players, but nowhere near the representation of the same percentages in the coaching, in the ownership, especially in the ownership. Like you got several women, you got an Asian, and you might have one or two more ethnicities in there. Women don't play football, yet they're owners. But black men do, yet there's not one black owner. So as much as I like football, I didn't know that a lot of the stuff that was alleged in this thing. Like I didn't know that. I mean, I heard about it, but I didn't read, get into detail. I didn't know that, like they had the race norms thing, to determine whether or not black players are cognitively, impaired or something like that. See, the whole league would have to be dismantled. That'll happen when blacks get reparations. No, I mean, it could be fixed, but like they were saying, like in order to some of the fixes is going to have to be like they're going to have to make it so that the black black players are going to have a say so in the hiring. It's going to have to, they're going to have to force them to do it. You see, I thought P. Diddy wanted to buy the Carolina Panthers. Could be, but just because you own it don't mean you have to sell. And as you can see, as you saw by the pictures, they'd rather sell it to a woman. They'd rather sell it to a woman than a black guy. So I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. If anything gonna change. If this lawsuit, I mean, it also depends on what happens in this lawsuit. Are they gonna take it all the way to court? They're gonna try to settle out of court. And by settle out of court, are you gonna comply with some of the stuff they wanted? Like, let the players have a say so in the hiring of some of these coaches and some of these positions. Is it going to be like, are they going to mandate that they have some type of a commission or something that says, that they have to, matter of fact, Oprah could buy a team. She's a woman. She could buy a team. She could write a check for that team too, matter of fact. But that'd be nice. And maybe after this this lawsuit goes through, maybe more black people will come together and say, hey, we should buy something in there. It's the same habit in everything Afro-Americans participate in. I hope they make changes. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice. Because look, the league is 70% black. I was on FYF Sports Debates the other night, and they kicked the dude off because he was saying that in no way is sports like slavery. I mean, reading this lawsuit is a prime example of just because these players get all this money or whatever. I mean, come on. It's blatant racism. It's blatant race. I mean, to say that, and that's slavery. I mean, when they auctioned the slaves off, they would measure them. They measure them in the NFL too. The only difference is they're not chained up, but then they're also bound by contracts, so they can't just willy-nilly go play for whoever they want to, because same way, you couldn't leave the plantation. So that's why dude was saying, right. That's and ain't that crazy? Like you too dumb to be cognitive. That's crazy. But it's the same. It's the same idea, though, right? We're gonna chain you up so you can't leave. We're gonna chain you up contractually so you can't leave. So we're going to pay you, though, because we have to pay you. But we don't have to give you any type of leadership position because we're not required to do so. We're required to interview. We're not required to hire you. And that's that same mentality. You're not qualified. You're too dumb. And listen, the fact that they would say that you have to include race norms to determine a person's cognitive impairment. If that's not racism, I don't know what is. see, it's a question that could be asked. It could ask about a lot of black entertainment, right? Absolutely. Basketball included. I mean, I think basketball is a little bit more further. I don't know. I mean, does the basketball have a black owner? I think they do. Matter of fact, Michael Jordan need to buy a football team or something. Or somebody need to get together and buy some teams, man. Because the only way it's going to change is if you infiltrate the system. You have to. You have to. See, black people still stuck in I have a dream. Get your fucking coins and try to build something on your own. Sometimes it takes getting money from whites to do it. But, you know, again, this is one of those long institutions that even today are reminiscent of what used to happen back in the day. They didn't allow black players. It was LA that forced them to do it, just like they tried to do with the Rooney Rule, but didn't have no teeth. All you have to do is go interview some black coaches, and you don't have to even hire them. You know what I'm saying? That's why, still to this day, the Giants don't have a black head coach. And I think the Washington Red, maybe I'm mistaken, but I think Washington is one of them too. I think it said something about 20 of them or something. I don't know. But at least the Giants and the Washington Redskins or Washington Football Club were one of the original owners. I just had a discussion about that today with the mechanic. I had a discussion with somebody else wanted to ask me about starting a trucking company. I said, do not ever start a truck company right now, because the trucks are trash. I did a podcast talking about the trucks are trash. The truck I drive right now sounds like the bottom gonna fall out of it. It's a 2019. It's got 400,000 miles on it. It's still a baby in terms of past trucks I've driven. I drove a truck that had 1.3 million miles on it, and it drove better than this. It's a trucker having a bad hair day, allegedly. Don't let me take off the hat now. Don't let me take off the hat now. You see, her truck starts on a football league. Let's see, Michael Jordan doesn't count. I could go for that. He is a little. Yeah, you're right. But look, yeah. I mean, come on. This shit is crazy and blatantly crazy. Like race norms. You're not paying, and people got away with that. And there's black people in the front office. Come on, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. See, Dino Barnes is 60, but he's too old to get a shot at the NFL. He's the head coach of Syracuse. Not necessarily. They didn't have old ass head coaches before. How old is Andy Reid? Andy Reid old as fuck too. Who else? Fucking Tom Landry was like 97 or something. You know what I mean? Trucker made Maryland quit YouTube allegedly. You know what? She changed her name. The NBA has a lot of black coaches. Yeah. You see, Maryland had hair issues. Yeah, I think she changed her name. She most definitely took all them videos down, and them suckers that was following her. You got left holding the bag. You follow the right. And listen, this person made all these statements, accusations, letting other people do whatever they want to do on her channel, and saying I ain't had nothing to do with it. And then you took all of that shit down. But guess what? I ain't took nothing down. I ain't gonna take nothing down. I'm gonna always show my face, unless I'm doing a podcast, and I upload that. But even on that, I show my face, right? If I do a live, it's gonna be video. What else? And I'm gonna stand on whatever I say. So, listen. You want to follow some weirdo motherfucker that gets her fucking jollies off for just getting on YouTube and jumping on different channels. And then, they used to call me lazy or whatever. I think the real reason was because she had nothing to do. Didn't want to go on somebody else's channel or something and wanted to come on my channel and do whatever because she was bored or something. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, because look, you said I was lazy and I'm not doing videos for a certain amount of time, and you look on her channel and you wasn't doing no videos for a certain amount of time. So like I said, you know what I'm saying? No, we'll start that. Bryce today not showing his face. He looks like a because we smoked him out. I mean, how long can you take the criticism of me telling you a coward if you don't show your face, and your name is in it? My name is in your title of your channel, so you don't think people are gonna see that? So we smoked them out. We applied that pressure. We bring it, we smoked them out of the darkness. Those sucker call her a phoenix. I don't even know what that means, but it's a hood trucker have hair. It's inside that they speaking on. They clowns even made videos on me, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you look, they mad. See, I made him change his name, right? Apply that pressure, right? Listen, pressure bust pipes, and it is what it is. Like, listen, just like this lawsuit might apply some pressure to make some changes. See, they go to sleep and wake up with YouTube. Wearing a man unit, not on my head. Let's see. Yeah. So hopefully this lawsuit applies some pressure and it makes some change. Look, if whatever the case is, a lot of these dudes join the NFL because of the money that you can get, and to feed their family. A lot of them come from bad situations and all that, so you can't knock them for that. But if you're going to be a part of an organization, I mean, it would be nice to be all inclusive, or at least more inclusive. 70% players and 2% coaches, and like collectively probably like 30% or something like that. Like, it's not even close. It's not even close to the representative. Let's see, a hood trucker man unit. What the fuck is that? She was more like horny and frustrated. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. That's listen. She tried to say she was like old dog. I said, listen, you and old dog should never be applied. I mean, into the same sentence. A trucker applies pressure only to his blood pressure. See, they made a video using all males in chat. They made a video using all of the males in the chat. Maybe she's a virtual sex worker. Let's see. Yeah, get the popcorn. Yeah, but look, that's old news already. Let's see. I see what's going on now. You got just for men in your hair. No, it's salt and pepper. I don't put that. You know what? Because first of all, I'm allergic. I found out I tried to use it, but I found out I was allergic to it. Yeah, if I wasn't allergic to it, I'd probably wear it more often. Let's see, Miss Nobody. Okay, here and there, she's mentioned here, but every time she's on, she talks about it. She's a six puppy. I think she even changed her name, I think, at this point. But look, we don't care. It's old news. She gonna do whatever they gonna do over there. I mean, it's obvious what happened, what type of people they are. They showed their ass. So, look, who cares now? She even made a Twitter and was posting the clips from her YouTube on it. Desperation, trying to be seen, and nobody wants to see that shit. Trucker uses Axe thinking it's perfume. I don't use Axe. I use Sauvage. Joe, get your cologne game up, man. I use Sauvage, man. She's sad, just like those dweebs who are now her friends, right? Don't use that shit. Why not? Oh, yeah, I'm allergic to it anyway. It's a bitch nobody that pick. Let's see. It makes the men look ridiculous, like black chupas on their head. Yeah, I tried it. It didn't work for me. He said, LOL, naive. I said, I love George. I said, he's from the movie Rampage with The Rock. They gonna say it looks like somebody. Cromie just opened a axe throwing business. What the? There's nobody. Oh, did you see that? Did you see that where he was driving? Did you see that shit when he was driving and he almost crashed or something? I was looking at a video from Like Her Black, and she had it on there. That was crazy. He's like, this stupid. How you know it wasn't your fault? Trucker sent a friend request on Twitter to Marilyn saying, let's be friends again. Simple, allegedly. Hell no. Fuck no. Fuck her. Let's see, Miss Nova, I see what you're doing there. Yeah. See, I had those fishes mad at the videos I made on them. Right. They sensitive. They sensitive. They're like little girls, man. And I mean, listen, if you go over there and team up with somebody that got kicked out from over here, first of all, if you team it up with, somebody that last week made videos about you, that's suspect. And then you team it up with the person that you made videos of, that's suspect. So all of them is cowards, all of them is degenerates, all of them is suckers and all of that, and they all need to be friends. Because they ain't gonna find nothing else. Let's see, doing what Paul screws. This pick isn't about Maryland, it's about George. Of course it is. See that, Trucker? I know that your hater still watches all of your videos. They don't like it when you hurt their feelings. Of course. That's why we smoked that dude out. He's showing his face now. All of a sudden, he took my name down finally. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I mean, how can you be a self-respecting man and have another man's name in your title of your channel? You can't do it. You can't. How could you be self-respecting and hide your face while talking about somebody else? You can't. Maybe that's why he hide his face. Maybe, because he looks weird. Like he looks like a weirdo. Even Marilyn is an emotional grown man. Right, she thinks she's tough and all that. I'm like, man, that's crazy with this bullshit. We're going to talk about investing. Here's the thing. I don't want to give out bad advice. So I'm doing some research now. I'm doing a little bit of investing with these cards and stuff. But I don't want to give out bad advice. I mean, I could easily say, hey, let's go invest in these in the Bitcoin when look, Bitcoin just crashed the other day. Is Maryland built like a linebacker legend? So, I don't want to, like, I'm not an expert investor. Like, I'm a hustler though, but I'm not no expert investor. So, listen, if y'all got some investment things you want to share, we can share those. Absolutely. But like for me, like I'm not an expert investor. Again, I'm a hustler though. Trolls want to get paid, so they think you will pay them. I don't know why they thought that. Y'all stop talking about that lady. Cough, cough. Let's see. It's sharing info. That's all. Absolutely, 100%. We can share. We can share all the investment info. All of that. I'm just, listen. Yeah, he almost crashed it. Should teach us how to hustle. Then. Listen, you know what I was gonna do, but I don't think I'm able to do it. What I was gonna do on OnlyFans, see, no Quan Low be paying those trolls. Right? He did play that transsexual. He did pay that. See, be where I saw your video there. He did play that transsexual. Teaches how to get rich. Always wearing Nike and car brand hats, allegedly. It's my work clothes, man. I'm at work right now. Look, I was gonna do a video on OnlyFans, showing y'all how to whip that work. But I don't think I'm allowed to do it. So I got to figure out a way to do it so that it's not deemed against the terms of service. I have to figure out a way to do that. Thank you, Captain Levi. Appreciate it. Yeah, I got to figure out a way to do that. Because I do want to show y'all how to do it. And then the switching tag shit, I want to show y'all how to do that. You said hustle. You said teach you how to hustle. That's part of hustling. You know what I'm talking about? That's part of hustling. But just for sake of argument or future reference or whatever. I mean, you never know when you're being in mind, but I'll say about doing that and then switching tags too. But other than that, I hustled, I was hustling t-shirts for a while. I kind of got away from it because I just didn't have a lot of time. Making t-shirts take a lot of time. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and, because I pulled my order because I didn't like how they was acting. I didn't like the sample they provided. I didn't like nothing, right? So I pulled my order. And I think I'm going to do it myself on the Hood Fit t-shirts. I'm a little rusty, but I got a design already. Working on it, and I think I'm gonna have to do it myself because they want astronomical prices. Number one, number two, I don't like how they act. So, they gave me a sample. I didn't really like the sample, and it was crazy. So, I think I'm gonna have to do it myself, or I might have to go out and spend 10 grand to go get a t-shirt machine that I can print it, which would be easier and faster. There's another better one that's like 20 grand, but the cheapest one's like 10. That's really like operational or usable, right? That you can really like stand behind your product. There's other things out there. I might see what else is out there, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. I will come up with something. Let's see where they local. ATL should be full of people that can make them. See, here's the other thing though. It needs to be cost effective. I can get anybody to make them, but if they're charging like $20 a shirt, $15 a shirt, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. Truck driver is not hustling. You're right. You have to hustle on a job sometimes, though. But you're right. It's a job and or a career. You're right. Absolutely right. See, do you have the time to do that, Hood Trucker? I mean, look, if I just be more efficient with my time, then I probably could find the time. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see what happens. I'm not gonna make any promises, but we're gonna try to make a conscious effort to get that done. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to pay these astronomical prices to get it done. Because especially like right now, everything is high right now. Like, man, everything is high. So I remember you Cook, Bus Brown. He was really in his. Oh yeah, I remember you cooked Buzz Brown. He was really, yeah, we was on there for a while. we was on there for a while. Let's see, I want to show off a stack or two. Right, yeah, get on there, and show off a stack or two. See, I want a hood stack tee. Oh, we got some ideas going. As a matter of fact, let me write that down. Hood stack, there you go. Matter of fact, let me write that down. BB Cross coming with all the good ideas. Let me write that down before we get out of here. We're gonna get out of here in a minute. Let me see. I just found some doors to the hood trucker mobile. Let's see. Hood stacked. Yeah, let's get that going. Hood stacked. That's a good idea. Get a lot lizard teeth. Hell no. Fuck no. So I'm gonna wear my hood tee with a Ralph Lauren blazer, hood rich. See, those sound like good ideas with t-shirts. Absolutely. I don't know about no lot. Get a lot lizard tee. You know what? I don't know. We had to figure out a. I don't know. We had to figure out. I don't know about lot lizard though. See, now I'm a hater. We don't want no fighting in the comment section. See, I'd wear a lot lizard t-shirt. We'll see. We'll see if we can come up with something funny, maybe. See, BB Cross trademark that so trucker don't get money from you. You like this live stream, hit that like button. Absolutely. Hit the subscribe if you ain't subscribed. Don't forget about the member section. Go join the member section. The PayPal, the Cash App. You see, no, I can't do that. Lot lizard. A lot of trolls come in and down, and then they greasy. I don't know if he's a troll just yet, but we'll see. But yeah. That's I don't know about the lot lizard one, but the hood stacked, hood fit. Let's see what else we can come up with. But I think I probably can get them done. We'll see. Maybe not a lot of them. We'll see what we can come up with though. But look, I'm gonna get out of here because I can get up early in the morning. It's been awesome talking with y'all. I know I ain't been doing a live. It's been a ton of stuff going on. The truck I was supposed to leave Tuesday. The truck sounded like it was gonna fall apart. Really, literally. I see. Are you doing a live stream on the NBA bus? Is it okay to be a bus in NBA? No, I was on FYF Sports channel and they talked about that. I don't want to bite none of the story ideas. He's a friend of the show, so we went over there and talked about it. But we can we'll come up with something. We'll come up with something else. I'm not really a basketball guy anyway. I really don't like basketball until the playoffs, because I'm not really a basketball guy like that. But listen, I talked briefly about it. How is it okay to be a bust? No, because you disappoint people anytime you're a bust. But if you are a bust in the NBA, are you still an elite player? Probably beat most of the people in America who play basketball. So just because you're a bust in the NBA doesn't mean you're not still an NBA. I mean, an NBA quality and an elite basketball player. So that's see, not life. I see. I put a lot lizard on it. Lot life. Oh, lot life, and put a lot. That might work. All right, that might work. Thank you for your live, Hood Trucker. Appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. See, don't forget the Hood Goonies. Yes, I got some scribbles and some sketches on my iPad. I got that iPad pen. I don't know where it is, but that motherfucker was $129 too, man. But yes, like, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Check out the membership section. We appreciate you support the channel because it all goes back in. Whatever we receive, we put it right back in. the Cash App, the PayPal. We'd appreciate your support. We're gonna see if we can't do something with these T-shirts, and see if we can get that something like that going. So, with that, we gonna get out of here. We're gonna try to get on here earlier tomorrow. That's why I need to get up. I need to get off this live and get to sleep so I can get up early and get my driving done, so I can get all my driving done and then get on live like I did today, but it was kind of a short day, so here's what it is. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. Good night, everyone. Good night. And we're gonna get back real soon. Take care.